Setting up. Episode 98 here with Joe Currie. How are you, Joe?
How's it going, pal? How you been?
Good, good, man. I haven't seen you since Atlantic City. That was a hell of a weekend.
That was a fun weekend, man. I had a great time, and it's first time I've actually second time I've been on those shows. So I was a little nervous, but once it got rolling, it was really fun, man, and everybody had a great time.
Yeah, the crowd seemed to really go along well with, especially some of your material and stuff. It was way better than I expected. Not to say that in a bad way, but I mean, I said it on I think Kevin Brennan's show. I thought you were one of the best acts that night. And
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
just scrolling through my Twitter right now, Will Bozarth just said that you killed in Royals for this past weekend.
Let me tell you something. I was freaking out. I get to the we're at the gig, right? And Gino is just leveling the place. I mean, leveling the place. And I'm up next. And I was talking to Don Jameson, and the funny thing is I'm like, I'm freaking out. Now, Don, my band Fragile Sky, we're going to be doing a thing, D City Live at March 26th. Don was the host, and I was having anxiety attacks during that whole thing. And I was telling Don, I go, you believe I was more nervous playing the keyboards in the studio than I am right now?
Yeah.
So I got up there and I just addressed Gino. I go, I got to follow Gino killing it. 3 freight trains, an empty bottle of Jameson. This is what I got to deal with. And I wound up having a good set. So it worked out. It was really a fun night.
Yeah. What the easy thing about those shows too is most of the people that come out know who they're coming to see. They kind of like support that whole group of people, so it's like those shows just make it easy in that sense that it's not people just going to a comedy club like as a date night and not really knowing who they're seeing, like these are all like diehard fans that come out to the
city. And it was nice because I went up there and people go, Flying Foot, that's my nickname, Flying Foot.
Right.
And I go, all right, I go, good. I go, they know me and I stand a chance. So yeah, and I just relaxed, and there was such a great crowd. And here's the deal, and Anthony mentioned it today, and we were talking about it, is that they came out to this gig. Soul Joe's is very nice. It's an open air place. He's got all the heaters, but these people came out with chairs, blankets and stuff like that. So it's not like you go to a regular club and you just put your jacket on, you're going, it's an event. You're going
right.
to have to bring stuff. And they had no problem. We had over 200. And it was amazing. It was a great round of shows.
Yeah, it looked like a packed house, and from all the pictures I see, I didn't get to make it to that one. It looked like a lot of fun. Everybody's wearing the jackets because I don't know how good those heaters do in that tent.
They were pretty good. They were pretty good.
Yeah.
They keep the heat going. Plus, you had everybody in there, so between everybody's body heat and the heaters and stuff like that, it was pretty comfortable.
All the drinking, probably warming everyone up. Did Gino fall off the stage at one point?
I'm sorry?
Did Gino fall off the stage at one point?
Almost. At the end, they wanted all the comics to come up and take a bow and stuff like that. And Gino kind of like polished a half a bottle of whiskey off.
I'm sure there's probably more than that before the show too.
Probably. So he's on tonight. Now he's holding on to the heaters. And I'm like, and the heaters are going, the heaters on stage. And I'm trying to make sure he doesn't knock the heaters, one of the heaters off, because, if you burn down the venue, it's not.
Yeah, you guys are underneath the tent. I don't know how fireproof those tents are.
Yeah, suddenly everybody will forget about Great White,
Yeah. The tents just come falling down. Those chairs don't matter.
Right. So I'm like, all right, but so while all the guys, I'm like, I'm a special guest. Let all the guys greet the fan. My job is to watch Gino, this heater, and make sure the venue doesn't burn down. So
now, do you drink? I didn't get a chance to catch up with you in Atlantic City. I wasn't sure. Do you drink?
You know what? I do like to drink. I know tip it back. But on Friday night, I had to do Richie Byrne. I don't know if you know Richie Byrne and Mark Riccadonna.
No, not familiar.
Very funny comics. What they were doing that night was a comedy, the longest comedy show in history. They were zooming it in, and it was all comics, and it was running for 3 days. My slot was for 1:15 in the morning to go in, so I really couldn't drink and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And by the time I got done, there's no place open. And on Saturday night, I don't. There was really no place to drink, so usually I like to tip them back. No, I had nothing.
Good. Well, that's all you can do. That shows that you're dedicated to at least doing your set at 1:15 in the morning. You can't
Yeah,
drink. You
yeah.
got to
No,
do your set.
it was, it was to help a good cause. And Richie and Mark had been my friends for years, and just to sit and panel with those guys was really fun. So it really, it wasn't a problem. It's the least I could have done.
Yeah, that's awesome. I haven't done one of those Zoom shows. How are they weird? Are you kind of talking to yourself, or can you actually see the people that are watching?
I've been lucky where I was supposed to do one, but we wound up paneling. And I thought the one I was going to do with those guys, I would have to do some of my set, and we wound up paneling. So I lucked out. But I do know a bunch of people that have done the Zoom shows, and it's weird where you're hearing the people on a screen, but you're not getting that much back.
Yeah.
So it's a weird way to deliver your material. What I've been looking out with is there's a guy, Steve Rocco Perillo, and he runs these comedy workshops on the island at two places. And you go up, it's just comics. You go up with a notepad and you just work on material. And you know how comics, so we don't laugh and stuff. We're supportive, but we don't laugh. And your cadence is geared to that.
Yeah.
And it's been the best thing that's ever happened, because if you're doing a Zoom show or something like that, you're geared to a slow response thing. And it's been invaluable because when I was in Atlantic City and when I was down in Royersford, I'm working in this workshop and I'm trying to win Ant's fans over and stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm doing at least 6 minutes right off the cuff from what I've written in those workshops. So,
Gotcha.
they've been very valuable. So it's one of those things where, comics are very resourceful and we'll figure out things to do, like Soul Joel's, Joel set that whole thing up.
Right.
My buddy Steve is doing these workshops, and and there's been rooftop shows. So, just because we love to perform and we want to try to figure it out, comics have been very, very resourceused in,
at least the
doing
ones that want
gigs.
to work, and not complain. I mean, literally doing shows everywhere that's not indoors. Like you say, rooftops, tents, people are setting up heaters. And the fans are going to come out. So if you want to work, I mean, there's plenty of shows. Like we have secret shows coming up this month.
Yeah. And the thing about
people.
it too, the great thing about the workshop is when everything started to slow down. Now everybody agrees it's going to be a year anniversary. March 15th, the weekend of March 14th, rather, was pretty much agreed whether you're a comic or a musician or entertainer. That was the end of regular scheduled shows. That was the end. That was at the end. And in that period that I had time off, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, it's kind of nice being off the merry-go-round. Do I really want to get back into this? Or do I want to do it as, with as much gusto as I had? And then I started doing the workshops. And then you're there with a bunch of comics. You're there with a pad of material that you've never done before. And just for the thrill of the chase to make the material work and the camaraderie with the other comics, it's the bones of what I told one of my buddies. It's the bones of this. And it's the thing that got you into it in the first place, kept you into it, and wants to keep you going. So when I started doing that, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm doing this till I can't do it anymore. This is, this is what I do.
Well, I mean, like I said, when I saw you in Atlantic City, I was surprised. You made me laugh my ass off. I think the guy I was sitting next to fell out of his chair. I don't know whether he was too drunk or he was just laughing, but everybody killed. It was a good show.
Thank you.
But let's see what's going on today. It's the first of the month, and there's some big news, I guess, that's breaking. Apparently, Twitter's having a meltdown. Everybody seems to think they have the right answer to why Dave Landau has left the Anthony Cumia network. It's funny how the fans always think, I said it 2 months ago. It's because he looks unhappy on the show, or he mentioned this and that, but nobody really knows, right? Or unless you have an insight.
No, I know it was a surprise. It was a surprise to everything, everybody. Ant, I was in the car with Ant, like I said, going down to Royersford. That's a 2.5, 3 hour run,
right
there and back. I mean, we had lunch. We were talking about everything under the sun. Never had any clue of what was going on. Never mentioned anything. I was on the show literally 2 weeks ago, live with Dave.
Right.
Ant could come in that day, had something to take care of. So I was co-hosting with Dave and Bob, and Dave looked happy, looked fine. He got in. Show. He was a little tired, but you couldn't tell. It wasn't like he was not giving 100% when he was, Zooming in,
right.
So it was a total surprise to everything. And let me tell you something about Dave. Dave is a great guy. He's a very sweet man, a very funny man, and a
The
gentleman.
workhorse.
And
too.
it's business, man. This business, it's it's the way it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a fair business sometimes, but you got to do what you got to do. And I think maybe it was a surprise, and Ant will be fine, and Dave will be fine. Matter of fact, I got some gigs coming up with Dave. I think in the summer I'm gigging with Dave, and he's a great guy, man. All the best.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny how people try to turn it into something bad instead of just enjoying the years that he was there on the show and knowing that those shows will always be there.
It's just that whole, the people that speculate, the whole the Twitter crowd, especially the Reddit crowd and stuff, like people on Reddit. Now I've gone on, I mind my own business, but I'll see stuff that they post about Ant, and I'll go on and I'm like, you're wrong. It's not right. Yeah. And don't ask. And it's nothing I read or nothing. I had a front row seat. I was there, and whatever you're saying is wrong. And I'll explain to you why it's wrong, So, when you get that information, when you see stuff like that, it's all speculative. To tell you the truth, from, talking with that, I'm just going by what I saw,
Exactly.
So,
I don't normally read a lot of live comments, but this guy, Phil Walsh, says Dave Landau cut 28% of his off in a bizarre gardening accident. I don't think that's true, right?
Yeah, that's a Spinal Tap reference.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's a bizarre gardening accident,
Yeah, Smokey says Dave's one of the nicest people. I know. Kevin Brennan is having a field day with this. He released a 30-minute podcast about 20 minutes ago, and it's just laughing the whole time, just having a blast, just destroying Dave Landau. I guess he's going to go have some fun with it. But what are you going to do? So now I think Kevin's putting speculation that he wants the chair, and it's all up in the air. Who's going to get the chair? Will anybody be given the chair?
Yeah.
A lot of people say they like Ant when he's by himself. He's good when he's by himself.
The whole thing with the chair is a funny thing, because I actually called into the show today because Anthony was busting my chops. Basically, when I work, and Ant is a gifted comic, but he never worked the road. He never drove to gigs and stuff like that, except with our band. But when I go on the road, I make a map. I just make a map because sometimes the GPS can take you in a weird ass way. And I just want to make sure I glance at the map and I just make sure that the map is agreeing with the GPS.
Now, do you get an updated map every year? Like you buy a new map when the new version comes out, just in case the roads change or anything?
I'll just use just the old version of the map. My map's only like 4 years old, so it's not that bad. But I just keep it because basically I do stand up all year. When things are normal, I do stand up. I play in my band. And then during Christmas, I play Santa Claus. I go to private homes all around Jersey and I do Santa Claus. I'm constantly in the car. I'm constantly using the GPS.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you don't put something in right, that could take you miles. I mean, like 60 miles out of the way. So you just want to make sure that the map and the GPS,
wouldn't you think, you got 3 gigs going on all the time, you're always on the road, like wouldn't you think you kind of know the route by now, or is it just you're always getting thrown in a new route?
Well, it's just like when I needed the map, it's a route I usually took. So I just wanted to make sure that I just had the exit that we had to take to get up to Royersford off of 276 or whatever that road was.
Yeah.
So we were just at a rest stop taking a leak, and I'm looking at the map just to make sure that I have the exit. It's exit 6 off the New Jersey Turnpike. I just want to make sure it's exit 6, and that's where we're taking us. Yeah. Ant sees that, thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever seen, posts it. So he was busting my chops on the show today about it. So I called in, and I'm like, hey, I'm available if you need somebody.
Now, have you ever had to use a map for something that it wasn't intended for, and you were glad you had it? Like, say you had to take a big dump, right, on the side of the road. Did you ever have to use a map in that circumstance?
Not to take a dump, but to blast the snot into, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then you just had to buy a new map. I mean, maps are cheap. You can always have them. You don't have to keep updating the GPS. I like it. I'm not against the map idea. I'm unless
No,
you're on the
it's
highway and you got the whole thing pulled up in front of your face, and that's got to be worse than
yeah.
texting and driving.
Especially when I'm doing my Santa Claus stuff, because basically Christmas Eve in a normal year, Christmas Eve, I have about 5 to 6 gigs, and everything is running, and you have 30 minutes to screw up. If you screw up, you're going to screw up the whole night. So I make a copy of the map, because if the GPS is off, and it happened, I mean, I'm supposed to be up in northern New Jersey. The things got me down by the Goethals Bridge, and and it screwed me up that night. I was running about 30-40 minutes late with everything. So I always keep the map in the car, just to make sure everything is running copacetic.
Yeah, right. Now, did you do Santa this year with the
Yeah,
COVID?
yeah, I was lucky to do stand up. I've been Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club down in Point Pleasant. Dino Abelli he's been open. He opened, and he has been so gracious to me with gigs, and I've been working a lot. I've been working a lot for him. And also I got to thank Aaron Berg, and I got to thank Ant. I mean, I've been doing gigs with those guys.
Right.
So that's pretty much where the thing is. My local clubs on the island, Governors, they got screwed, because what happened is James, the owner, laid out thousands and thousands of dollars to make sure that the clubs were up to code, up to where the standard was for COVID.
Did the standards change?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The standards change, huh?
Yeah. And he exceeded because he wanted the patrons to feel safe. He opened the club in July. They were running through July. They had Dice there. They had everybody there. And then Cuomo turns around and goes, any venue that are selling tickets to events has to close.
Yeah.
And it was bullshit. As a matter of fact, Laura Curran, the county executive of Nassau County, wrote him and said, this is wrong. He's exceeded the standards and stuff. Like, could care less. So with the exception of the workshops and maybe some Zoom show, at least on Long Island, there's nothing going on.
Yeah, well, that Andrew Cuomo, apparently from posting on Twitter, he's a funny guy who had his comments.
Yeah.
That's what he says now. He's a funny guy, but he hates stand-up and any kind of enjoyment. But Lord forbid he got caught saying some comments, but now he's funny. Maybe they'll have somebody else in there now. They'll change the rules and open the Governors back up.
I hope, if he gets impeached, then throw him out.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully they will. But all of a sudden, Cuomo's decided, you know what, we got to open places up. Yeah, because you got no money. And
yeah.
You're figuring it out. So
now you're packing your bags.
Yeah. So hopefully another couple of months, the clubs open up again, because it's a whole lifestyle thing in the clubs. I mean,
right.
People that don't do this don't understand that it's about doing your material. It's about the audience, about the hang. Yeah. I was off on a Saturday night a couple of weeks ago, and it was a cold night, and I was just thinking, it was so cool to be in a cold night, to walk into the club, and it's warm and it's packed, and it's a great crowd, and it's going to be a good night. And to have that taken away, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you talked about the hang a little bit. Now, I do believe that a lot of these secret shows are kind of turning into, you get to see some of your favorite comics come out, and then, they're hanging out with you at the bar, and it's just all dedicated fans that are coming out and, who just want to see stand-up comedy. They're not going, like I said earlier, on a date night or anything like that. They're showing up, and, Gino gets too drunk, and they're taking pictures of him. They're partying with him, and they just get to see all that. So I wonder if some of those same comedy fans are going to allude to the clubs when they come back, or if they're going to be aiming for more.
They will. And what I've noticed in the shows I've done is I've been a comic for 23 years. I've performed everywhere. I have never, ever seen a connection between performers and audiences that I have seen since I've started to do shows back in September. And like I said, I've been working down in Uncle Vinny. Adam Ferrari is a friend of mine, so I was up at Mohegan working up there, and with Ant, doing Ant shows, and then Uncle Vinny's show. There is a connection between a performer and a comic, and even musicians, that everybody is just on the same plane. It's right. Everybody is just so happy to be there, happy to laugh. And the shows have been just beyond phenomenal. And and during normal times, you go to a comedy show, it's a place to go after dinner. It's a place to take a date.
Right. You might like one of the comics or three of the comics, but now with these other shows, you've heard of every single person on the show, and and it's who they want to see, and it's
Yeah.
a hang, it's a party, they're happy to get the fuck out of the house.
Yeah,
You know? And
exactly.
it's an all night deal. It's like
Yeah.
it's an event. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're exactly right.
It's really good. And I just hope things get back, back to normal. But there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do. I mean, all we can do is think creatively. But it's nothing we can do.
Now, Phil Walsh says Bill Cosby had a great connection with his audience, even when they said no. Your thoughts?
Yeah.
What's going on about?
Easy.
You got some of these funny guys here in the comments. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
So the whole thing, with Ant, Ant's great alone. Ant does a great job alone. With getting a co-host, it's all chemistry. I mean, Dave and Ant had that chemistry.
Yeah.
So guys will come in and they'll see if the chemistry works. But I mean, chemistry is something you can't create. You can't just it's gotta be there. I mean, I do my show Davin's Den with Davin Rosenblatt and Pip Peelich. We've done the show 10 years,
right?
And there was a time when I left for about a month or so. We had a disagreement, and coming back, it was just like rejoining family. There was that chemistry.
Yeah, so you had to get a break.
Yeah. So that's something, Ant will take his time. There'll be guests coming on. Yeah. And
I don't, excuse me if I'm wrong. I don't think Ant necessarily searches out for a co-host. He knows this program. He knows what he's doing. He'll have people come in, and then all of a sudden something will happen. He'll be like, whoa, yeah. That was a fun show. People seem to like it. Why don't you come back on? And then next thing you know, same thing with Artie Lang. When Artie started coming around, and then they had this brilliant idea, the Artie and Anthony show. And you see how that fiasco turned out with Artie Lang.
Yeah, that was something. And, and Artie is such a sweet man, and a really good guy. But, unfortunately, you have that monkey on your back, and you have your demons, and he couldn't shake them.
Yep.
And
he even tried to get away to start his own thing, and I think there was one episode put up. I mean, it's sad. But,
and you feel, but he's a great guy, hysterical, brilliant. And he was brilliant on Howard. He was, he was funny on Ant. But there were days that he was a little up. There were days he would disappear and stuff like that. And it didn't work out.
Now, do you have any comedy beefs? You've ever had any beefs out there with certain comics or anything like that?
I only had one. And it was funny. I was working up at this place called the West Side Cafe up in Connecticut, and there was a comic there. I don't want to name his name. He's a great guy. He was there, and he was with his girlfriend, who was a comic. So I was the first up. So I went to get their intros, and I kind of messed hers up. And it's a Sunday night. I messed her. She goes up there and she starts to just rip me apart. So I look at him and I go, it's not really a big deal. Sunday night in Connecticut. Oh, no, it is a big deal and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay. So fast forward 10 years later, and I'm working back up in Connecticut with him, and we're having dinner. And I go, look, I just got to bring up that night. And he apologized profusely. He goes, she was a nut. She had me under a spell. If I said anything, I am so sorry.
Isn't that crazy?
And that was the only one I ever had. It was resolved,
Wow. Yeah, I mean, because a lot of these comics out there seem to have some beefs, with Kevin Brennan and all of his stuff that's going. Maybe just him. Maybe Maybe it's just Kevin that has beefs with people. I don't know.
You get guys like that, but at the end of the day, it's jokes. It's jokes. It's not like we were all working, and we were trying to find a vaccine for COVID.
Right.
And one guy's stuck. We're not saving lives. The matter, it's like, as a matter of, people go, oh, well, your jokes help hip. Yeah, we do. We're traveling clowns. Okay.
Right.
And we, sometimes you guys get so self-important. We're traveling clowns. We're not making a difference. We're just cheering people up while they drink their balls off. And I've always been that way. And I've always been one of the comics. And the reason I'm, that I've been friends with Ant for so long is that we were the assholes in the back of the classroom.
Yeah. Right.
And we just managed to take it in front of audiences, No. And that's what I've always wanted to be, the asshole in the back of the classroom. So when people get super serious about this stuff, it's like, you got to relax,
Right. Yeah. When they start taking it online or start really, a lot of the guys, they'll put some shit out there, and I don't know if they're trying to be funny or not, but it just comes off like mean. You just read it, you're like, what the fuck? Like, are you trying to be funny with this? Like, you could at least work it around a little bit to try to be funny on Twitter. But some of these guys they just nail you.
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
like, oh,
Sometimes
it's all right. Relax a little bit. It's
and
not
some
that
guys
serious.
get upset if you get goofed on. I get my balls busted,
Yeah,
but it's
that's the way
always
it
been
should
that
be.
way.
That's what makes some of the best comics when they're in the clubs and they're just ripping each other apart in between sets every weekend. You get better at roasting and stuff.
Well,
but those guys are funny.
The latest thing I've been getting my balls busted about is everybody if on Twitter or something like that, they'll go, well, what kind of Janir comedy is Joe doing and stuff like that. And that attributes itself. I was on Don Jameson's show back in last fall, and we were talking about Judas Priest. And I go, yeah, Judas Priest is really, really made a mark along with Iron Maiden in their genre of music. Yeah. So about 10 minutes goes by, and Lisa Currie, another comic, is on there, and she goes, did you just say Janir? And like an asshole with authority, I said, yes, Janir, you dumb mother. And I have had my ass handed to, and I'm so deserving of it for the simple fact that not only did I say the word, I sat there and delivered it with conviction. Right. And I just laugh like hell when people bust my chops about it because I'm so deserving.
Yeah, over saying the wrong word. Who cares? At least they knew what you were talking about. You should, just keep saying it throughout the whole show just to piss them off. Yeah. Never say it the correct way ever, because it's just pissing off that one guy every time he sees it.
Even still, I'll read a magazine or something like that because I'm a rock musician too. I play keyboards, and I'll buy a rock magazine and I'll actually read the current Janir, and I'm like, you don't learn, do you?
Now, were you into comedy or music first?
It was music. And Anthony and I actually started together. Anthony's brother Joe, years ago, played in a band with my buddies that were 2 doors up from my house. And I would go out and I would hang out and I would watch the band play. And I said, I got to be part of this somehow. So I was a roadie. I carried equipment. Anthony hooked up a couple of years later. Anthony had the reputation of one of the best sound lighting guys on the island. His shows, he set up all the light. It was amazing. When we had our band Rot Gut had the reputation as one of the best live shows ever. And a lot of it was the staging of Anthony. I mean, Anthony became a singer, but we had staging. Yeah. And we had the staging and stuff like that, and then I started to do stand-up. Adam Ferrara is a good buddy of ours. Adam started to do stand-up. I followed after. Ant didn't. And we talk about this now because he frustrates the hell out of me because he goes up and he will do a solid 20-minute set.
The first time I saw him, I was like, oh, it's because, everyone's here to see him. I wasn't really paying attention. I was like, wow, he's really killing, but everybody knows who he is. And the second time I saw him, I was like, this is pretty fucking good. Yeah. He's doing a setup here.
It's phenomenally good.
I do love how he holds the mic like a rock singer still, though, when he does his jokes.
Because he was.
Right. I know. I clown it every time. I'm like, he looks like the lead singer of Metallica up there, but he's delivering jokes.
Yeah, no, because he was a rock singer, still is.
Right.
Play out.
But Phil Walsh wants to know. This guy in the comments wants to know: did you headbang your hair off early in the years?
Could be.
Right, there's your answer. I have to ask.
Tell you something.
They get
Whoever said that, you should have seen me during the 80s when I was trying to save every frolicle I could, and I wound up getting a perm and went and looked like a complete asshole. So you know what?
Perms were in then. I think baldness is in now. I think the only reason I know that is because on March 13th at the Secret Show Comedy in Coscob, Connecticut, Kevin Dombrowski, Aaron Burr, Pat Oates, all bald guys will be at that show, and also featuring Natalie Cuomo. So get out there, get your tickets at Secret Show Comedy on Twitter. Go there and check that out. Get up there and check those boys out. It's going to be a hell of a show. Now, speaking of Pat Oates, he was the last guest on, he's a friend of the show. He was the last guest on Tax that Dave Landau was on. Do you think there's some kind of conspiracy there? Now, Pat Oates isn't sure how he feels about it. I think he's all up in the air. He's like, well, I was the last guest when Dave Landau left.
No, I don't think there's a conspiracy at all. I just think that it worked out that he happened to be a guest on that show.
Right, right.
And it's no more than when I was co-hosting with Dave 2 weeks ago that I had, there are some things that you don't, if you're not on the inside, you don't have a clue about,
Okay, right.
So it was, and to Dave's credit, I guess he's a gentleman about it and stuff like that.
Do
And
you think so? I
that's
mean,
the
with
way
the
it is. I
email,
don't
do
answer.
you not think that Kumia knew that it could have been coming, and just to get hit with the email the weekend before show? Or do you think the reason he sent the email the weekend before the show is because he was super nervous to send the email?
Could have been that. Could have been that.
That would be my move. If I knew I had to do something, I would probably wait last minute and finally be like, oh fuck it, and just hit send. Who knows how long the email's been written?
Yeah, it's it's a rough thing to do, and I mean, I don't think it was a knee-jerk reaction, by Dave.
Right.
I mean, Dave actually had to sit about, think about it, and think. And when I drove with Dave down to Uncle Vinny's back in December, and once again, we're in the car. We're in the car for 2.5 hours down, 2.5 hours out. We talked about everything under the sun, and Dave was very happy and very appreciative being being on Ant's show,
Right.
and he loved it. Maybe the thing with Crowder, maybe it's it's less travel, whatever, where he decided maybe he'll go that route.
Right. Right. And who knows, if he's relocating to Texas, could be a way better move for his family.
Yeah.
That's up to him.
Yeah.
I know the area. I know that I grew up in that area down in Texas, and it's a nice area. It's nothing like, I just moved to the East Coast in September, so I just kind of changed my lifestyle upside down. But as all the U-Hauls were going north, all the other U-Hauls were going south. I was the only one just trucking my way up there. Right when COVID was hitting. But yeah, no, and to Dave's credit, I mean, he was always prompt and on time, and never really, it didn't slack off on the shows. He was happy to be there. So
No,
he
was
not be there anymore. That's it.
He was very, and I love Dave's material. Dave tells fantastic stories, and he has that matter of fact delivery,
right.
And also a really big compliment to Dave. When I was working with him in Uncle Vinny, it was the first weekend the club opened back in September, and Bob Levy's there and Rich Voss is there. And they never saw him before. They knew of him, but they never saw his stand-up. And I'm sitting at the table with them, and they're like, wow, he's really, really good. And he is. So to get, Dave was very happy because he got, acceptance from Voss and Levy, and they never worked together before. So to get acceptance from another comic is really good.
Right.
As well.
Yeah.
And
speaking of Rich Voss, he's not very happy with me right now, apparently. So I fell off the wagon a couple of weeks ago and got, started drinking again.
Right.
I'm back on the wagon, have been for a couple of weeks. But during that time period, one of the last times I got drunk, I went on Misery Loves Company. And apparently I was blacked out, and I said that Rich Voss bombed in Atlantic City. And he has not been taken that well. He's so far mentioned Ski Mask on 4 different podcasts. To my knowledge, and I've only met the guy one time, the first time in Atlantic City. But just so you know, Voss, you're a legend. You're a hilarious guy. It was just drunk talk, all right?
Yeah.
He is not letting that one blow over.
He did fine. He got funniest thing was how he bust his balls, and that he was wearing that red jumpsuit. And he had those sneakers on, and our buddy Mikey Cups was hanging out in the green room, and he told Voss that he looked like he robbed the Models. And that's the funniest goddamn thing I've ever heard. It cracked me up. And Richie's like, I go, Rich, you got to give him that. Yeah, that's pretty good.
We were doing a live show on the rooftop of the Claridge, live Ski Mask, and Rich Voss walked over and he just grabbed the mic and said, "What the fuck? I took a shower and came here for this," and then walked away. And it was a great moment. Let's see. Direction. Yeah. So that's now. Are you going to go to the Comedians of the Compound in Austin, Texas? Are you on that?
No. I'm gonna lay low on the ones. I'm probably gonna go to the ones local. Okay. Like I think there's gonna be. There's gonna be a couple in Jersey. Towards the spring and the summer, I'm gonna go to that. I was talking with Ann about it, and Ann's like, you go to the ones you want. I go, well, I don't want to overstep my bounds. and I don't want to,
but like I mean, even Will Bozar's here in the chat. He popped in and said that the crowd loved you in Royersford, and I can say from a test they loved you in Atlantic City. I think you're an excellent fit on that show,
thanks.
especially because throughout the years, Ant has so many stories. Everybody knows who you are, whether you're on the show or not. Ant's talking about you, and people want to hear from you. I think that's great.
Yeah, it was really cool, and I to tell you the truth, they did Comics of the Compound from Governors. Governors is my home club.
Right.
And I go up and I went up there and I don't know, my friend said it was maybe it was having a problem with the mic. I don't know. But I was doing 10 minutes. The first 3, I wasn't getting anything. And I'm sitting there and I rehearsed that set. And I'm like, I've done this set everywhere. I don't know what's working. I finished strong, but that set bugged me. And between that set a year and a half ago and Atlantic City, it was really stuck in my craw. And I've done plenty of shows between it because I'm like, I really wanted to do better, and Atlantic City I did, and Royersford I did. So I'm finally, the people know that I'm actually a comic, because some people think, well, I'm just Ant's friend. I've been a comic for 23 years.
Right. Yeah, I guess there's so many comedians out there. It's hard to get a real push. Now, I know you do your show Davenport that you said you've been doing for 10 years. Have you ever been offered a show at Compound Media or anything like that, or thought about pitching a show?
There was talks about it, but Ant was mentioning if I wanted to do a show and stuff like that. But I want to do something different, and I've got a character, Dick Eldorado, that I do. I got my Dick Eldorado page, and I'm thinking if I do it as a character, because if people don't like me, they don't like my character, it's not a reflection on me. So I'm thinking I've been doing a couple of shows. I'm actually probably going to do a live Dick Eldorado after the show tonight.
Nice.
If I get the time. But I'm thinking about it. But Ant's made the offer, but I want it to be good. And I know, and as we could see, business is business. So I just want to make it good, and if I got it, it's the best job I did. So hopefully maybe in the future, for right now, going on guesting and doing these shows is fine as well, because I'm starting to build the audience with the crowd, crowd as a comic, not just its friend.
Yeah, I think that would be a great addition to Compound Media. Would be a character type show. And that's what this show originally developed as. People, I could do my comedy without the mask, and then I could be an asshole as the ski mask host.
Right, and
that's how the whole thing developed.
It's the same thing as Dick Eldorado. I can go up and I could be as hacky as I want, and stuff like that, and do stuff, and people go, oh, it's kind of hacky. Yeah, but I'm Dick Eldorado. I mean, when I'm Joe Currie, I go on current events, I research, I show hypocrisy. It's a totally different animal. So it's like, the other one I could just be funny and hacky without having the filter on that.
Now, Phil Walsh wants to know, what's the drunkest you've ever seen Anthony?
There was one time, and it's a story in a story. There was one time back in the early 80s, I dated this girl, and she broke up with me, and we drank White Russians. And there was one night that we're hanging out at this bar. The girl broke up with me, and I drank 3 pitchers of White Russians by myself.
Nice.
And I got so sick. Anthony helped me to the front door of my house, and I'm like, dude, I'm trying to walk. I can't. And he's like, all right, fine. Just get in the house and be fine. So for over 20 years, there was a running joke that I owed him for a drunk night.
Yeah.
And it happened at Bar 9 about maybe, I'd say about 8 years ago at Bar 9, where Ant was drinking, and our band played, and we get done, and Ant comes up to me and goes, yeah, man, that was a really good set. That was really fun, really fun. I'm like, yeah, man, it rocked, dude. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, something's a little bit off.
Yeah.
And apparently, he had, I forgot what he was drinking, but it fucked him up, and it fucked his girlfriend up. And he's in the bathroom of Bar 9 just getting violently ill, and I'm down there with him. Yeah. And I'm like, you doing all right? Yeah, I'm cool. I go, good. We're even.
For over 20 years, never forgotten.
Over 20 years. So he get him a cab, and he gets in the cab, and Ant doesn't like getting up in the morning. So I go, I'm going to call you first thing in the morning to make sure you're okay. But he handles, and let me tell you something, man. That's the only time I've seen that he couldn't, he really got drunk. He handles his liquor very, very, very well.
He's professional about it, and like he talks about it until he gets around Gino, and Gino's just shoving it. Now, it is also funny that Gino happens to be, I think, where Utah skiing the day that Dave Landau leaves. I wonder if he planned that too, just to kind of make it quietly, because we all know one thing Gino can't do is keep something too quiet. So we were laughing about that earlier. Like, oh, he would have blasted him or something like that. But I know that they are friends, so.
Yeah. Gino's a pisser. I mean, he's like a walking
so
party.
Much fun to hang out with.
He's a pisser, and he's and he makes Ant drink.
Yeah, and so I made Gino drink one night. That famous picture that you saw get tweeted out Saturday Night Gino, where he's sleeping on the couch, or not sleeping, but he's staring at the TV. It became a meme. That's because right outside, about an hour before that, me and him had shared a fifth of 100 proof vodka. And then, they caught him just staring off into space, and I was like, all right, now I kind of feel bad. But
yeah, he can be. He's a pisser. He's
a wild boy. I don't understand how he doesn't get hung over. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
I had to put that shit down again. It was fucking me up. And I look at Gino, I'm like, how does he do it? How? All the time, and he's able to be funny while he's drinking. There's no way.
Yeah. I tell you, I like, it's weird. Like I love to party and drink, but when I do stand up, I don't drink before I go up. I don't drink because you got, you got 90,000 things running through your head.
Exactly.
When I play with my bands, I'll have a couple before I go up, and bring a couple up with me, because if you tend to overthink, you make mistakes.
Especially so it's playing like a keyboard,
opposite.
Right?
Yeah,
because a keyboard you kind of flow with. So, if you're too uptight, you're going to be thinking about it too much, and you're going to fuck up that flow, and then, it could mess up the whole song.
Yeah, and I tell you, it was the weirdest thing that happened to me 2 weeks ago. We were doing this thing, like I said, March 26th. It's going to be D City Live. My band is Fragile Sky, and we're taping, and we're doing 3 songs. We're taping 3 songs, and the songs I played for years. And I know the song, and I was getting such anxiety because you get 2 takes. They're filming. You got cameras all around you.
Everybody's around you.
And I was getting anxiety attacks, and I'm like, I go, how long have I been doing this? I go, I can't believe this. So I was really freaking out.
Yeah.
And I was telling Don Jameson when Gino was destroying, and I got to follow it. I go, I'm freaking out here, but I go, not as worse as I was in a controlled studio playing songs I played for years, So it's really weird, weird. How your mind reacts to stuff.
It's kind of like that asshole that always pulls out the acoustic at the campfire. He pulls it out. He swears he knows so many songs, but then just knows 2 or 3. It's definitely not like that, but.
Yeah, exactly. So so it was, it was a little nerve wracking. But I tell you though, one night, and the compound parties were legendary. I mean, you were really good. And I used to be the leader of the Sunrise Club. And the Sunrise Club, it's a bunch of, we drink straight through to sunrise.
Hell yeah.
And
nice.
I would walk around all night and have a beer, a shot, walk around just drinking beers and shots all night. And then my buddy, one of my longtime buddies, Dave, who grew up with us, goes, man, you sure could party. I'm like, slow down. I go, dude, I have maybe 1 beer a night, if that. And if I'm not gigging, I'm in bed by 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I mean, I
can remember back when I first started drinking, I could do that, drink it, until the sunrise and things like that. And that went on for years. And then I quit for a while. And then when I came back to start drinking, I mean, I could start drinking at 5 in the afternoon. I'd be done by 10, asleep. I couldn't do it anymore, because I guess it just affects you differently when you come back to it. You don't have that tolerance. But Sunrise Club. Now, is that Fragile Sky? Do you have songs on Apple Music or anything like that? We can.
We're on Reverb Nation, Fragile Sky and Reverb Nation, and we just did an EP called Spellcaster,
nice.
Which is out, and that's out about a year. And like everything else, man, we were opening for national acts and stuff like that, and then COVID hit. The last time the band played live, with the exception of the studio, last week, the last time the band played live was December of 2019. We played December 12th.
But you guys are itching to get back on the stage and play something live.
Yeah, we really are. And my lead guitar player was Joe. I'm sick and tired of being around the house. I got to play. I got to do it. I go. We all do. I go. The comics, musicians. This is what we do, and not being able to do it is just frustrating. Matter of fact, the club that we played that night, just said Blackthorn in Brooklyn closed. Great venue, great rock venue. Hosted a lot of original bands. That's out because of the damn COVID. So it's not only you're sitting around waiting for gigs. A lot of the venues that you're playing are
closing the doors for good. It's crazy, man. And then it's like, what's gonna happen now? Like, of course, the cellar will stay the same, but you got to be in at the cellar. You know, you can't. You're just gonna be playing bars again. It's like, man, how long am I doing this?
and that's the thing, because what's going to happen is, and you got to remember, you own a club. It's a business. Business is business.
Right.
So you open up, your club gets back in. Okay, you're going to get all your A-list guys, a rotation of A-list guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an A-list guy. And basically my rotations are going to be backed up almost a year.
Right.
So if I'm getting back into clubs by the time the dust settles, everything gets back 2022,
Yeah, it's going to be a long road ahead, man. And some of the comics they're dropping out, but most of them are looking ahead. It seems like that'd be badass to have you guys' band play at one of the secret shows, like right after all the comics finish and then the partying starts.
Yeah,
you guys are just up there ripping. That'd be sick. We had to put in a word.
But the thing with Ant is that if he goes up and he riffs, because he was telling me on Friday, he goes, and we're both in the car going over our what we're gonna do, and he's like, I'm looking at my slide, I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna win. I go, and I'm trying to fine tune. I go, I'm doing the same thing, and it's the process. If he goes up and he wings it, he'll be fine. If you told him you're going to go up in 3 weeks and do 20 minutes, he'll freak out, because he's got, it's that anxiety of that.
And that's the kind of person that Ant is. I mean, I can see him going up and winging it and killing, but then if he starts overthinking and writing jokes and wanting to read them and stuff, he's just going to freak himself out to the point where it's like, well, it's still going to be funny because it's Anthony, but
right. And if anybody asks you why he doesn't want to regularly do stand-up, that's the answer. So anybody out there, I wonder why, no, that's that's it.
I mean, relax. The man can do 2-hour broadcast by himself. I think he'll be fine. I think he's pretty funny.
He is without a doubt one of the most brilliant comic minds ever.
Yeah, he's quick. I don't know if I know anyone faster.
I don't, and I've known him since we met in high school in 1977, and we have a buddy of mine, Pete. We used to write, because me and Pete were very big Monty Python fans. We would do bits, we would write this, and when I met Ann, I go, Pete, he's one of us. Hang out,
Yeah.
And we wrote jokes and stuff like that. And the funny thing is, in 1984, I worked at a fence company, and my buddy goes to me, I got my buddy Adam starting tomorrow. You'll like him. He's a funny guy. And Adam and I just did nothing. Adam Ferrara and I did nothing but just write jokes and goof around that whole day. I get to Anthony's apartment that night, and I go, Ant, you got to meet this guy, Adam, that's just started work. I go, he's one of us. And he goes, we got our friends. I go, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
He's one of us. I go, we're going down to this club on Friday. You're coming. All right. I go, and Ant met Adam, and that was
just kicked it off in a high gear. Yeah. I see Adam's name up. He does Mohegan Sun a lot. You've done that a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
I think they're still. Did they open it back up? I know they closed it for like a month or two. I don't know if they're still doing shows.
They did when COVID hit. They opened it back up, and they're doing all the COVID regulations and stuff like that, and they're doing the physical distancing and stuff like that. And the shows have been fine.
Yeah. I mean, what's the difference between that and going out on the casino floor and the glass doesn't work? You're all sitting around the roulette table. You get crazy when you win some bets. You're all up in each other's face. There's no difference in that and sitting in your seat and doing a little laughing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird what we're going through. It's like the worst game of Simon Says you'd ever want to play.
And it's going to continue. I love when people are saying, when COVID's over, it's never going to be over. It's just going to get easier, and shit's going to finally open up. You know what?
They'll get to a point where the vaccine, the vaccine is starting to work, and people will just finally had it,
Yeah,
have had it, and will start going out, and government will have to let businesses open because government gets tax money, and there's no tax money coming in, and they're going to have to acquiesce and let places start to open again, and the people are going to start to demand it. But I mean, with the vaccine and all of this, people are going to start to demand that these places reopen again.
yeah. I mean, there's no choice. People are going crazy out here, and especially when they're losing their assets or whatever. We got to thrive. It's a free market out here. You
I
know,
I don't know how people I don't know how people are getting by. I don't know how people are getting by,
not the
and then
$1,400.
no, and yeah, and which I call hush money,
Right.
I call that the hush money,
Just something to buy a new hat.
yeah, yeah, just to
Yeah.
something, and then you see, they're not getting it because because my partner on Davin and I, we argue. He goes, well, they should give subsidies to people. As I go, these guys are entrepreneurs. They want to be open. They need to be as much as you and I need to be on stage and need to be on stage and need that social interaction between an audience and our comic buddies. The club owners need the same thing. This
Right.
is what we do. This is what we do. We're in the club business. We go on stage. They run the play, and these guys want to be. They don't want to check. They don't want a handout. They want to be open and running and trying to make a go of it. Even at quarter capacity, they'll have a half. Their margin won't be the same, but at least the girls are working. At least we're working. And
At least you're seeing activity. It's keeping them sane. They're keeping people in there. People are coming to the club laughing, whatever they get done doing.
What you
It's
said
part of
is
their lifestyle.
right. What you said is keeping sane. That's the thing. They're trying to keep sane because basically this is what they do day in and day out, and it's taken away.
Yeah.
And after a while, it gets to you because basically, especially when you base a lot of your life on this, and it's taken away.
Right.
It's a lonely existence, man. I mean, I live alone. I'm separated. I don't have kids. Since I was 16, all I wanted to do was gig, play bars in a band, then do stand up, and then it stopped. And then I'm like, is this the kind of life I want?
What's that sound at night? You can't sleep anymore. You got nothing going on. Like, what the fuck? I never noticed this about my house.
Yeah,
just noticing all kinds of shit. Just so bored.
Yeah,
Did it?
and also I don't know if you've noticed too, the incentive to do anything creative is not. I don't know. It's been stymied. It's not there. Thank you very much. I have a friend who is a makeup artist out in Albuquerque, and she was mentioning that, and she's very creative. She,
Right.
she's got all, and she mentioned on Facebook that she, the creative juices aren't really there. And I wrote to her and I said, good, it's not just me experiencing this, because for some reason, I don't know if it's a mental thing, but
No,
I've got plenty of stuff I need to do. The whole Dick Eldorado thing. I've got 4 songs I need to present to the band. I've got to update my website. And all I want to do is watch me TV.
Yeah, but again, it comes from creativity. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately because it happened to me recently. I took a little break from the show. I just wasn't feeling creative. And this whole show, I started it in April, right when COVID hit. I was working, and it gave me something to do on the time off of work. Right. Now that I'm not working for a while now, it's been 5-6 months since I've had a steady workflow. There's no creative juice there because you can't just sit around, not do anything else, and expect creativity to come to you. Like if you were to stay busy all the time, busy, you would have a blast at those. They give you those external highs. They're keeping you sane, and you're like, what else? What else can I build off of that? That was awesome. I'm working on it hard like this. I got constant money coming in. I could do this with that, and after a while, it just becomes stale.
And it's very weird because, like I said, the workshops have been just a place to write and hang around with people. And I'm on the way to a workshop one night, and I'm driving, and I go, holy cow! We haven't worked on a project. I do a project. It's called The Weight of the World. Mm-hmm. It's about a weight loss group, and we've done some filming. I don't know if you know Chris Roach, comic. He was on.
Yeah, I know of Chris Roach.
Chris is actually part of our ensemble, and we filmed something over a year ago, and we've been wanting to do a Facebook watch party or a release party, and we had everything together, and I was supposed to and I'm driving, and I go, how did I totally forget about this? You know, and we had a meeting last week, and we kind of put a drop dead date to get stuff done.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank God for that, because I'm driving to I've been so involved in doing the workshops that I'm like, I've got a project that's ready to roll that I didn't even do anything on, and I'm and it's on me, so it's very weird,
I think
it's
this
weird
whole
where
thing
your
is just,
mind is.
yeah, I think this whole thing has just shifted everybody's mind in weird directions, and maybe some for the better, but most, I would guess, for the worst. But now, Joe, what else you got going on? You got the show. You're a great guest on Kumia. Two awesome appearances at Comedians at the Compound. I hope to see you on more of those. We'd love to come out and support those. What else you got?
Well, like I said, I got my project, The Weight of the World, which is about we're going to be doing. I can't. Why am I blanking on this? We're going to be doing stuff on Facebook. Also, we have our YouTube. We're going to be working on it as a YouTube channel. We're also going to try to write it as a musical. I wrote the music. I got my band Fragile Sky, which is our original band.
They're on the shirt. Are those shirts for sale?
Yeah, I think Fragile Sky and Reverb Nation. And we got that on. So we did our project. So we're waiting to work on that. I also have my other band, Sexy Susan, which we go out, we open up for national acts, and we've got some of the best musicians in Jersey and New York in that band. I also play in Funky Monks with Anthony and Joe Currie, which is a Red Hot Chili Peppers cover band.
Right.
And then I got Davin's Den. We're live 6:30 to 9:30 every Tuesday. We're tomorrow. And we do 3.5 hours and stuff like that. And then
where do you guys go live at? Davin's Den. Where do you?
We're live. You go davincomedy.com, click live broadcast, and there. And then we're also on Facebook Live. Nice. And then we're also working on another project, which is based on my life, and it's actually based on me as a kid. My father committed suicide when I was a kid, and it was about my upbringing and me. Trying to make it in the entertainment business and with friends that made it, Anthony and Adam and stuff like that. So we're working on that. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole grand scope of things.
I like the sound of it, Joe. I appreciate you coming on. I hope to see more of you, man.
Thanks, man.
Hilarious. I wish my co-host could have made this show. They could have spiced it up a bit. All right, come on, guys. I've been out 2 weeks. I take off. You guys can show up on a Monday. I'm kidding. They're working. SkiMaskCollective.com. We got some brand new shirts up there, and I finally figured out how to update it where you don't have to pay for PayPal. So if you want those, you can use a card now. Don't worry. Also shipping to Canada. I finally figured that out. So yeah, I did some good in the 2 weeks off. We have some more shows coming up. I'll be back in Connecticut tomorrow, leaving Texas today, full time. So we'll be back in studio, I think, probably Thursday. I'm going to figure out some guests for that. Joe, thank you as always, at Plankfoot on Twitter. And
right. And if I can just plug my website, Joe Currie Nation, Joe Currie Nation on Facebook, and Joe Currie Comedy on my website.
Perfect. Joe, I'll talk to you soon, man.